Hey
What happened
Scott,
today?
what's
It's
happening over there today? Happy Monday to everybody in attendance. Welcome to what is the last office hours of April. April's going to come to a close, man. Before the week is out, we'll be into May, and we'll have to see what happens with May. Should be an interesting month for the markets and everything else that's going on in the world. But all we can do is hope for the best. So welcome everyone. Before we get rolling here, Vipul, if you're having audio issues over there, I can't really control the volume from here. You might want to check your local settings, maybe try logging out and logging back in if that doesn't work. So as Scott just told you guys, I'm solo today. I'll do my best to keep my eyes on the questions panel and answer them as I can. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get through the legal mumbo jumbo here. Just want to make sure that everyone in the other 8 ones that we're coming at you with during the week, it's for educational purposes only. So if you do need advice, what to buy, when to sell it, all that good stuff, please seek out a registered investment advisor or someone else like a registered. That's about all the advice I can give you as far as connectivity goes. So especially since there are quite a few new people in the room today, people that are not subscribers, always like to take a little bit of time here at the top of the hour to let everybody know about the community that we've fostered around the award-winning technology that is TI Pro. All kind of starts off up here in the upper left-hand corner with the trading room hosted by Barry Anderson. Barry opens up the room 30 minutes before each open and is there pretty much all day, touting his trades, showcasing the way he uses trade ideas and his trading methodology there. And Barry is also big on answering questions and helping new users as well. So if you haven't been taking advantage of the trading room, by all means get in there and do so. One of the nice things about our trading room is there's no charge. Matter of fact, you don't even have to be a current subscriber to get in there, generate a login for the trading room. So it's free for anybody to check out and engage in. So by all means, get in there and use that resource. Of course, on the 5 p.m. Eastern webinars on Monday, you get myself, and typically Steve is here as well. But Steve's not with us today. Steve will go into more detail about that tomorrow. Round out the 5 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Eastern. As soon as that gets out of the way there, trade-ideas.com/live. You can bookmark that and always go to the same spot at 12 p.m. Eastern to attend the live support session. And the cool thing about the live support session, you get a different trainer in there each and every day. I've been handling Thursdays as of late, but it's usually myself, Steve, Andy, Sean, or Michael. So it's a great place to get any of your TI questions addressed, whether it's something very simple or maybe more on the complex, maybe a little bit more complex like back testing or custom formulas. So by all means, take advantage of the live support session every day, 12 p.m. Eastern to 1 p.m. Eastern. And always like to give everybody a little peek and have continued to refine and adjust those as the past 4 years have evaporated. So if you haven't been paying attention to the AI or you haven't upgraded that subscription to premium to be able to see the AI signals, now might be the time. And in addition to that, Brokerage Plus, which is our add-on module that allows you to execute your trades through interactive brokers as opposed to using their interface. We've developed what we feel is just a little bit more intuitive of an interface, easier to trade. Some of the upper end features allow you to not only trade with point and click methodology, but also to automate your strategies that you've created and even automate Holly AI strategies as well. So the blue bars represent live orders filled each and every month going through, or as you can see here, quarterly basis. Live orders are in blue, demo orders are in orange, and those continue to increase as the quarters progress. So once again, that tells us that people are responding, they like the technology, they're using it, and keeping our fingers crossed here, Interactive Brokers is currently the only brokerage that allows, where you can use Brokerage Plus, but we're currently working on getting the E-Trade version active as well, and that will be the first broker dealer with zero commission structure that Brokerage Plus should be able to connect to. So keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully it's not too far down the road here. I know they've been working feverishly on it, but still no hard ETA, but hopefully sooner than later. All right, on to today's agenda. Traditionally, Steve usually walks us through the market recap. He's a lot better at it than I am. I'm going to try to just point out some of the highlights here. Of course, I can't do it quite as well as Steve does. But it's really the cues that are leading the charge here, hovering well above their moving averages. We'll take a peek at that in just a minute. Then we're going to talk about expectations after the first 15 minutes of the market. What do I look for to help temper my expectations after the first 15 minutes? My compare count, my large cap compare count window that I'll show you guys here in just a moment. A lot of the times gives me a little peek at what might be in store for the rest of the session. And today was a textbook read off of the large cap compare count window. We did get a nice lift in the overall markets. Then we're going to move on and talk about Holly, how Holly held up today on 10 signals. Some decent plays in there. We actually have some spread between conservative and moderate risk factors, or risk modes here, I should say, and we'll go over those in detail as well. And then we're going to circle back around to the power of the compare count windows over here. Not too long ago, I gave out a compare count sector heat map, which if you direct your attention to the chat window, I went ahead and dumped it in there already. Sector compare counts layout, you should see the cloud link in there. And we're going to talk about that today. And I'm going to show you guys some very interesting things that I noticed in addition to my one big large cap compare count window, how I was able to zero in on a specific sector today and get some really good signals from it. All right. Okay, so without further ado, let me just get out of here and we'll just pull up the daily chart here. Get down here in blue, and we got the well above it today, closing up in the upper range today, but looking very similar to what we had right up here. Squish that line down just a little bit. What was that date? 17th. We over to you if you're unable to locate the chat panel. Can't see it from your side, so I don't really know what to tell you. If we can maintain these levels here, nice little close above. Are we going to go side here? But trades blotter. Now add a base. AI does each and every night to trade. We can see the trade count for each and every strategy in trades today column. Parameters for the strategy, all the filters, long and breakout long were the most active with 3 each neos that the AI has. We used to have each strategy, and we can see the time stop. You can see some of these are geared to hold until, so profit target, stop loss, and timed hold expiration. And then in conservative mode, the AI does have 2 options it can exercise to exit a trade early, whether it's a losing trade or a winning trade, in the form of profit save, which you can see over here, quite a few profit saves today, and then reduce risk, which basically these are just kind of, in other words, so those are the 3 risk modes: conservative, moderate, and took a nice little grind up. AI, that the stop loss does get triggered, I only lose $100. So the AI just did what it was programmed to do, close the trade out after 45 would have happened, but nowadays it's called moderate spread here. Signal, $8.20, 15, 30 minutes or so, it's going our way. And we can see here, that reminds me of myself. Oh, I don't want to let this, all right? As soon as this candle, as soon as the AI closes it out, put in one more little red 15-minute candle, and then whoosh, up, up, and away. Once again, notice how the 10 period is being adhered to, all right? And for those of you who might not be familiar with the 10 period simple moving average, when a stock is in play and there's volume coursing through it, got some momentum going, this 10 period is many times the guiding hand, and it's very good to pay attention to. So if I pull net gear on the single stock window over here, you're going to notice this thing had volume coursing through it all day, finished at 1.81 on the relative scale, which means in essence it finished at about 80% more volume than normal. All right, so I see a bunch of questions popping through here, and once again, I am on my own here, so let me just see if I can get to a couple right here. Yeah, and Sheet, the link for the sector compare count, if you don't see it in the chat window, then you'll just have to send that email to info@trade-ideas.com, and I'd be happy to send it to you. And the question is, the stock suggested by the AI based on strategies, does it automatically take the position and bail out after a profit, or taking a stop loss? Well, we can see all of the entry and exit prices right here. And if you notice the column over here, it's always going to tell you why the AI exited the trade. Time to exit, profit, save, reduce risk, and sometimes a target is hit. We didn't have any of those today. Looking at the rest here, not a whole lot more to go over. These were the two that had the most glaring spread between conservative profit and moderate profit. Once again, just looking at when the AI is making an exit, and based on our chart reading skills, deciding if we want to stay in it and take more risk or get out with the AI. And before we move on to the other topic of discussion today, just want to kind of throw this out there. What is the real value in the AI? And that is, if I had to pick one, it's the entry signals, because all of these things are based around statistical probability. The AI is not the best on exits. We're working to improve that. But if I had to pick one, it's the AI entries, and a lot of the times, but not all the time, we can make a better exit than the AI based on just some simple chart reading skills. And yes, so the AI VIPUL does exit on its own accord. Absolutely. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to change gears a little bit here. Not going to bother with any of the range breaks today because they were kind of few and far between. A lot of things just ran right up on the open or down, so there wasn't a whole lot of nice ones to pick from today. But the power of the compare counts, okay? So I kind of forgot to do this earlier. First and foremost, okay, my opening 15-minute compare count window that I've been looking at for years now, okay, is the big cap one. And I'm going to pull it over here. And this is what we call a compare count window. It's probably the most underutilized window within Trade Ideas. And you can always spawn a new one by going to New from the TI toolbar, coming up here and just spawning a new compare count window. Now, what is it used for? Well, the idea for the compare count window was based on a metric that's been around for a very long time called the tick on the big board, simply showing us a ratio of things that are advancing versus things that are declining, okay, as a broad metric. So we came up with the idea of the compare count window to keep count of things that we feel might be important. So if I right click and hit configure in this compare count window, you're going to notice we're going to have two sides of the compare count window, a green data side and a red data side respectively. And if I click configure, it's basically like a free floating alert window for each side here. Now on this one, it's just stocks hitting a new high. I'm mandating that the market cap is 4 billion or higher because I only, I don't want to see the real thinly traded things here. So I'm foregoing the typical volume metrics. None of this average daily volume, 1 million shares or any of that stuff. I'm just saying, hey, if the market cap is 4 billion or higher, I want to know about it. I want to know if it's hitting a high in the opening 15 minutes. Little caveat down here, I am requesting some accelerated 1-minute volume as those highs are being achieved. This is a percentage filter on the 1-minute volume. So 100 would be normal. So I'm asking for 3 times normal 1-minute volume or even higher. If we take a peek at the red side, it's going to be the exact same filter complement, but stocks that are hitting lows. So the concept behind this window is to try and get a bead on what the institutions might be up to for the remainder of the session. So after the first 15 minutes are up, I take a peek at my ratio here, and then that helps me temper my expectations for the rest of the session. And do these call it every single time perfectly? No, no study, no metric ever does, but it is uncanny how frequently these give me some good information here. So these were the settings. Give me 1 second here. These were the settings this morning on my big cap compare count window after the first 15 minutes. 61% bullish to the green side. Now, a quick word about what values that I see after the first 15 minutes. You know, what are the good values, right? Well, typically, if I see something 55% one way or the other, you know, that's barely going to get my attention, okay? If it's below 55% one way or the other, that kind of tells me, well, might be one of these seesaw days where we go tap highs, go all the way down and tap lows, and then just kind of inchworm around all day. So when it's 55 or lower, that just tells me, well, there's going to be a little bit of everything. There's going to be some good short opportunities. There's going to be some good long opportunities, but then there might not be a whole lot of trend, okay? So you better take the profits while they're there. Now, as soon as we get above 55%, that's when I start paying a little bit more attention. But when I see things 60% one way or the other, that really gets my attention. So having 61% bullish after the first 15 minutes today, and we just take a peek at the SPY chart. Of course, these are 15-minute candles here. Here's the first candle close. And then we got this guy opening right here, 284.75, which is right about, I think, yep, 284.75 would be a little bit lower here. Okay. So I get the high compare count readings after this first 15-minute candle closes, and then look what happens for the rest of the session. I mean, for the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, following the next 2 hours and 15 minutes, all we did is grind right up. Now, we did take a little pullback and finish higher. So, you know, once we're to this level right here, whether it was the SPY or anything else that we're in, we have to manage our profits accordingly. But the bottom line is, this was a really good tell this morning after this first 15-minute candle showing a big buying bias, okay? Now, to extrapolate a little bit more on the theory behind this, institutional footprints. Institutions, when they, you know, could be a hedge fund, could be anything. They call their institutional broker up and they say, hey, I've got 1 million shares of stock XYZ to either buy or sell. They can't do it all in one big lump sum. They would have too much market impact, but they can do large blocks on the open. Market on open, big block trades get crossed, but the bottom line is, a lot of the times they leave digital footprints. And that's really what I'm trying to extrapolate here by watching compare accounts of this nature, all right? So they get a big block done, and then for the rest of the session, they might have a lot more stock to buy, but they have to kind of slice it and dice it so that they don't have too much market impact. This also ties into the VWAP, which volume weighted average price is what VWAP stands for. And that is used to grade institutional traders, right? If a guy says, get me out of 1 million shares of IBM, and you get him out, or the trader gets him out at the VWAP or above the VWAP, well, then that's a good thing. He did his job well. If he gets him out below the VWAP, well, might not have a job for too long, okay? So just wanted to give a little bit more input as to what I'm trying to track in these compare count windows. So that was on the overall markets, and it worked very well today. Now, in the layout that I dropped into the chat area, if you open that up, you're going to notice a bunch of these guys open up, and they're pointed to different sectors. So I use the same methodology for trying to pick where the action might be on any given day. So check this one out. After the first 15 minutes today, I noticed the combination in food services, 83% bullish, okay? That's a pretty big bullish percentage. All right. So I see accommodation and food services. I'm thinking to myself, well, that might be where some good upside action is today. And I see the question there, Stan, the significance of these little symbols coming across the bottom here. Um, when the market is open, all the stocks that are hitting highs and lows, they're going to scroll through this little ticker down here, just to give you an idea of what stocks are coming through, okay? So, if I pull, where is the my accommodation, okay? And by the way, this is what it looked like if because it was running all day. So we had this value after the first 15 minutes. It's real easy to do. All I did is go new top list. Now, when I spawn a default top list, it pulls up my volume radar because that's what I've told it to do. So here's another little tip when you're starting to get used to this process is once you get a top list configured with all the columns that you like to see, if you want that type of top list to pop up each and every time you click on new from the toolbar, all you have to do is right click and tell it to save as default right here. Once you do that, each and every time you spawn a top list from the toolbar, you don't have to come back in here and reconfigure it with all your favorite columns. Just a little tip there, okay? So what I did this morning is I spawned my favorite top list. Then I went into configure and I went to symbol list and I said only watch accommodations and food service, okay, which encompasses all the restaurants and hotels, by the way. So once I made that change, if we want to see what the list looked like right at that 15-minute mark, we're going to right click, we're going to come down here to use historical data, and I would just type in the number here for review purposes. Of course, this would be in real time as we were doing this. And we can see all the things that were present on this top list right at the 15-minute mark, okay? Now, what I've done here is I've taken the liberty at paring this list down a little bit here and only looking at what I like to call the major players or the symbols that I'm most familiar with, okay? And here are some that I just paired out. I think there's maybe 10 or 11 on here, but the list was chocked full. But the action that I'm about to show you guys was pretty broad. I'm not saying everyone worked, but the ones that didn't work, you were risking very little. So having said that, we got the big broader compare count window telling us, hey, there might be an extended move upwards today on the SPY, and there was. Then I got accommodations and food services showing this massive green count. So let's take a peek at what some of these stocks did today. We'll just click on LVS, Las Vegas Sands. First candle closed right here. And this is where the second candle opened up, right? The orange line and the arrow. And then look what LVS did after that, okay? Not a bad entry signal right there, ladies and gentlemen, after the first 15-minute candle. And of course, everybody's got different stop loss or risk parameters here. But, even using the body of these opening 15-minute candles, or if you're a Puritan, we'd have to use the wick, or maybe you're looking at a little bit smaller time frame here in the first 30 minutes or an hour or so. But, what a nice entry signal right here, right around the 45.30 area. And before too long, we're topping out at 48.50 here. Well above the 10 period as well the whole time. Notice when we start to flatten out here and get a little bit bleedy through that 10 period and get some candle closes, that's when we start to kind of get that cycle down. Wind, not too bad. Not too bad on WYND, a nice lift. And then once we're in the money, we have to exercise proper risk management. If you tried to stay in this one all day, it probably would have got you out. but that original lift was nothing to sneeze at here. MGM Grand, some of them are going to hold up, some of them are not. MGM, not a bad play whatsoever. That second 15-minute candle opening up 1456, topping out right up here at the 1545 level, levitating well above that 10 period most of the day, getting a little bit bleedy, but holding up much better than the WYND. Of course, everybody knows about WYNN. I mean, this is just going to repeat itself over and over. And this is why that compare count the compare count layout can be very valuable, okay? Because a lot of the times, even if we're not getting very bullish or bearish readings above or below 55% on the overall market, a lot of the times there's always going to be a hot sector in play, okay? So that's what the compare count layout is all about, is helping us figure out where the action's going to be today. Where's the party going to be? Okay, we don't want to go to a party that's just going to have one or two people at it. We want to go where the action is. And clearly today, in the hotels and the casinos and the food service, that's where a lot of this upside action was today. So another beautiful entry on the win there. Hey, Dunkin' Donuts, keeping America going, right? Close of the opening 15-minute candle here. We open right here, and just a nice little stairway up. Don't even think about coming back down till we go test this 10 period, and then it shirked it off and even set a higher high before the close here. Okay. Denny's. Everybody knows about Denny's. More of the same. Opening 15-minute candle closes. We get the open right here. A nice grind up. Cheesecake Factory, more of the same. Got the opening 15-minute candle. We got this guy whispering in our ear, 80% upward bias. We got the 10 period in play here. Once again, you could have basically closed your eyes and taken a stab at some of these restaurant stocks and casino stocks today, hotel stocks, and done quite well in them, okay? And the only reason I knew to focus on these stocks today was because of that compare count reading after the first 15 minutes. Hey, look, Ruth Chris, opening second 15-minute candle right here at 876, topped out 944. Some very large percentage gains today, ladies and gentlemen, on these stocks today. Now, what's going to be tomorrow? Don't know, but the sector hot list maybe will show us, where the hot sectors are tomorrow. Texas Roadhouse, one of my favorite Texas eateries here. A nice opening candle there for the second candle opens at 47.14. This guy's strong into the close all the way up to 50.03. DRI, Darden Restaurants. This guy a little bit different. Took a little bit of a swoon down at the bottom here, but the second 15-minute candle, notice what happens. We open up right around the 69 and 20 area after taking a nice little wick down here to the 15-minute, which in my opinion is a good sign, because a wick is the sellers tried to take control, but the majority of the volume in the candle occurred up here in the green area. So that's a good sign of strength right there. So that would have been an excellent entry point anywhere in that green candle, or that second candle with the wick down there. And then from that point on, it was just off to the races here. And lastly, we got Eat, one of the big conglomerates, owns a bunch of chains, kind of similar action there. Big buying in this one as well, and wicking right down to that 10 period. Once that second 15-minute candle closed, off to the races as well. So all in all, a combination of food services was the place to be. And like I said, these were just some of the highlights of some of the major players that when I see these symbols, I know that if I am going to participate in a casino or a restaurant, these are typically the ones that I'm familiar with. Now, having said that, there were a multitude of other casino, other hotel stocks, other eateries out there that did the same thing here. Some of them didn't give quite as good a gains, but all in all, you found very few losers. And the ones that didn't work, the risk was relatively small. So all in all, this was one of the sectors to be in today. And the only reason I was able to isolate that sector was by watching the compare count layout and seeing, hey, a lot of action in that opening 15 minutes. Now, keep in mind, everything that's happened to line up today. You know, if we saw huge wide range bars and all of these opening candles here, might not have been such a good deal. But, you know, the candles are going to set the tone after the opening 15 minutes. And if things look good and we can use, you know, relatively tight stops, then this was the place to be today. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. And now let me attempt to answer some of the questions, because I see the question panel just scrolling like mad here. Usually got another person in here. Eric's asking about the 10 period, the 10 period simple moving average. Yes, and you can see here, Eric, this is the 10 period on the intraday, but also too, it is not a bad metric to pay attention to over here on the daily as well, okay? So you can see how EAT is hugging the 10 period as well. So, you know, a lot of the times we can, you know, we can see the pattern unfolding on the daily or the longer term. And then if we can get acceptable risk on the intraday and make the entry with relatively acceptable risk, then that's how we can drill down into the trades. But the 10 period on the intraday, as well as the 10 period on the daily, I like both of them, all right? So hopefully that makes sense. We have no Discord channel. Sorry, waiting room, and a live support session every day between 12 and 1 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so once again, I have dropped the cloud link for the compare count layout into the chat, but let me just show you what it's going to look like when you open it up. Find it here. Okay, so notice what happens when I hit load here. All of these windows are just going to pop up on top of your existing layout because I've told it not to erase what you had there before. So when you spawn this cloud link and you open up, you know, what do we got here? 3, 6, 9, we've got 10 sectors, and the larger one over here is the big cap movers, the 4 billion and above. So this is going to be the one for the overall market, and then we've got 10 of the most popular sectors here to pay attention to. So I designed it not to erase the prior layout, so then you can move these things around, park them on a different monitor wherever you'd like to house them, and then once you do that, you'll just come back in here and not load, but you'll save your default layout, and then these guys will stay parked wherever you put them. But this is what the layout will look like when you open it up. It'll just open up on top of your existing layout, and then you can move the windows around and find good spots for them. Ren, there is no developers API. We used to make it available, but things got a little crazy. So at this point, there is no API for developers to use. All right. So that's the deal with how that layout's going to open up here. And we did have a question about the orange lines on the charts here. What's the orange line is the last day of the close. If you're referring to these orange horizontal lines, these are just lines that you can drop onto your chart at any time by right-clicking, going to markup, and to say drop a horizontal line there, and then you can drag it around accordingly. If we ever want to get rid of that line, we just hover over it and hit the delete key, and then it goes away. And Stevie, regarding your question, the question is, do I find the 15-minute time frame to be optimal for the compare count window? It was something that I just kind of arrived at arbitrarily in the beginning. 5 minutes being too short, 30 minutes being too long. So it was just more or less a personal preference or hunch. I said to myself, give one 15-minute candle time to materialize and then look at the counts. But I have started to notice that sometimes there's not a big difference between the opening 5-minute count and the 15-minute count. So take that for whatever it's worth regarding when to pay attention. But if I had to, you know, if you put a gun to my head and said, pick a time, I would stick to the 15-minute mark. It just gives time for more information to filter in, And so it's kind of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. You don't want it the porridge too hot, too cold. We kind of want it just right in the middle. And to me, 15 minutes meets that criteria. Okay, so scrolling back, I think we are caught up on questions. If I missed anybody's, I mean, I know I probably missed a couple when I was talking about Holly. Feel free to resubmit them. Just doing a little time check here. We are approaching the top of the hour here. Yes, I did drop that into the chat area. Now, since a lot of people are saying, did you drop it in there? Let me do it one more time, just to see if that helps. One moment. Okay, so we're going to take it. We're going to generate that link. We're going to drop it in here one more time. Okay, I have dropped that link for the sector compare account layout one more time into the chat area, and hopefully everybody can have access to it. And just keep in mind, all the compare account windows are going to open up on top of your layout. That's by design so that you can find a home for them. And, you know, for the rest of the week, start watching these guys after the first 15 minutes. See which ones have the big sell bias, see which ones have the big green bias. Take note of the larger one, which, you know, is what I use to kind of give me an idea of what might be up in the overall markets. Now, you know, of course, as we were discussing earlier, we're reaching a very crucial spot in the big tracking ETFs and the SPY and the Qs. It's all going to be contingent upon, can we stay above this area tomorrow and gravitate to the, you know, maybe to this next level here. If the bulls are in control, that's probably what will happen. But we'll find out. So it wouldn't be a big surprise tomorrow to see a 55-ish count. I could be wrong. I hope I am on the big boy. But that doesn't mean that one of these other sectors might have extreme selling or extreme buying in there. So we're all going to have a front row seat tomorrow to see what the hot sector might be. And then if we can identify that thing, we might get some good action, very similar to what we saw in the hotels and the restaurant stocks today. We just don't know what sector might be in play tomorrow. So hopefully that made sense to everybody. If you are unclear on something, you can always craft an email and send it to info@trade-ideas.com, and I can do my best to answer any questions that you might have. So having said that, I want to thank everybody for attending. And Scott, if you're ready to walk us out and let everybody know how they can save a little bit of money on an upgrade or a new subscription, then I guess now is the time.
All right, I think I'm unmuted. Thank you, Jamie.
Yep.
Yeah, a couple items on the way out. There's a new ebook. It's been out for a little while now, and it's really good. It gives you advice on what to do with currencies. It's written by our CIO, who also created Holly and the backtester, the odds maker, and some of our other technology. So do check it out. It's free. trade-ideas.com/earnings. We've got a podcast. We actually just published a new one over the weekend that talks about how to get trade ideas on your Mac or any other device. So it's helpful for those that are not in the PC world, but it's still interesting anyways. And we've got other interviews that we've published in recent last couple of months. So do check out the back issues. Just search for Trade Ideas Podcast wherever you listen to your pods. Add us as a subscription. Check out what we've already published, and you'll be ready to catch the next one as soon as it's published. Pop right up in your player. There's a code, Holidays. You've got a little while left to use it until this time next week. It's HOLLYDAYS, all caps. Saves 15% off your first month or year of Trade Ideas or any upgrade. So keep that in mind. And also, if you have any questions, email us info@trade-ideas.com. And you can follow Jamie on Twitter @QuantBot. Steve Gomez @Today Trader. Also follow @Trade Ideas. Trade Ideas Pro is the Facebook page to like and share everything with your friends. Thanks, everyone. We'll have the recording up later on tonight or tomorrow. Thanks, Jamie. Have a good one.
Thank you, Scott. Thank everybody for popping in, and we'll see everybody tomorrow. Bye-bye.